you want to see what we've been working on? Come in here. Okay, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I'm so excited that our living room is finally getting put back together. I told you a while ago that my bottom shelf literally ripped out of the wall because it was too heavy with books, with them being the floating bookshelves. So Josh completely redid this. We painted it, and I'm really excited with how it turned out. We matched the trim of my pantry and the kitchen actually for the top, so I feel like even just with the trim in the house, it goes really, really well, and you would not guess that it wasn't here, you know, 100 years ago. But I am so excited for a slower start to January. I feel like the last 2 months had us maxed out to capacity, and just even here on the farm, things were so busy and a little bit like I felt a lot of burnout, especially towards the end of December. Decided to take the last week of December off and just try to recuperate, which actually I ended up in the ER, and maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later here today. But it's been wild, and I am so excited to see less busyness in the month. More days just blank on my calendar right now. So I thought I would take you along today and just share what the very normal day today in January here on the farm as a busy mom of 5 looks like. It's not going to be just laying down on the couch. In fact, you might look at this and think, what? That's not any different than normal. Why are you calling it slow? Well, in my mind, things are feeling a lot more restful, and there are just things that are never ending, such as cooking and baking and preparing food for my family, and house chores, and all of that keeps going no matter what time of the year it is. But I do like to take a little cue from nature and try to have some of these winter months be more restful and a season of a little bit of a break from all the crazy. And so I'm very excited for that here. But I think first order, let's go mix up some things in the kitchen this morning. We just finished serving the kids breakfast here, so they actually headed outside. It is the most beautiful snow right now. So I'm gonna take a minute to pick up, put away my dishes, and then we'll get into some baking. I have been having so much fun experimenting with my new grain mill from Josh for Christmas, and I feel like it is a whole learning curve, but not quite in the way that I thought it would be. I had heard so many people say like their first couple loaves were complete flops. I was very impressed with how my first loaves turned out, although I did need them longer than what the recipe called for. Anyways, I've been very happy with the results so far. Everybody really likes the taste of it. The thing that I feel like I want to do more studying on and learning is I understand that fresh milled flour is much more nutrient dense than even sourdough bread. However, the big draw of sourdough bread is that it's fermented, right? And so it starts like breaking down some of these enzymes, making it easier for your body to digest. And so I think the ideal thing is to do fresh milled and sourdough. However, last evening I did not get around to mixing my sourdough, and so I'm using this today in a yeast bread. So we still get all those incredible nutrients from the fresh milled bread, but it won't be fermented. So like, I'm not sure how bad that is for us, but from what I've learned, that is still a very incredible option for bread, for actually nourishing your body. And so that's such a mindset shift to think of bread as actually being a very nutrient dense food. I promise I'm not just gonna continuously rant about my fresh milled benefits. For years, ever since I had Lyme, I guess 13 now, years ago, that's when I first kind of dove into studying nutrition and stuff, and so this stuff really fascinates me. So I love learning. but I'm gonna try not to geek out on it. So anyway, this recipe is from Heidi Marie on Instagram, the non-fresh milled version of it, but that's where I originally got this recipe. So I'll leave her Instagram linked down below, as well as the recipe that I'm using. I have some instant potato flakes here, which is actually interesting. My first sourdough starter that I ever had was made out of instant potato flakes. That's what you'd feed it with. And I think a lot of people call it friendship bread also, but it is a form of sourdough, just not near as popular. I'm gonna add to this a cup of brown sugar, 4 cups of warm water, and this should make 4 loaves. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. This is Celtic sea salt. And then we have our yeast, and we'll do half a cup of avocado oil. And then we'll stir this all up so that it can bloom while I mill my flour. Okay, set the timer for 10 minutes. Wow, that's beautiful. I am so impressed with how fine this flour gets. But I was thinking while this was grinding, and I did want to mention that I know it's not possible for everyone to have a grain mill. I wanted one for a long time before I ever got one. And I think it's so important to give ourselves grace as we learn more about feeding our bodies well, nutrient-dense foods. It should never be a stressful thing, or even a thing of like, I can't get it all right, so I'm just gonna give up. It's all about little baby steps in the right direction. So I feel like there's a lot of people online right now talking about the benefits of fresh milled, and I do not deny that at all. I think there are so many benefits. I'm excited to dive into it, but I do hope that this never comes across as like, this is all the things that you need in order to be a successful homemaker, or in order to make nutrient-dense food for your family, because that's just not the truth. But I hope that we each just are good stewards of what we do have. But there's also been a number of you that have been asking for not sourdough recipes because you're not into sourdough, and so ones like this would be great for that. If you don't have fresh milled flour, you would just have to use all-purpose or like a bread flour. It does give really delicious results, but you won't have all the benefits of the fresh milled. So okay, let me show you this yeast because it is beautiful. I guess I just love bubbly things, because last evening, I don't know if you can even see that, last evening I'm literally like hovering over my sourdough starter jar, just watching the bubbles pop, and Josh was like, talking to your sourdough again? It's like, no, it's talking to me this time. Okay, we're gonna add our flour. I need about 9 cups of flour. I'm gonna give or take some depending on how it looks. Let me grab my mixer. There we go. It is snowing again. Cozy winter days are so good. And I think for lunch, I'm gonna make a bit of a dessert. I did make, I don't know, some version of a chili yesterday that I was planning to heat up for the others for lunch. And I say the others because I'm not eating it right now. I did take a trip to the ER the day after Christmas with another gallbladder attack, unfortunately. Christmas was absolutely beautiful. It was just the best day ever. We all had so much fun. It was just relaxing. We ate delicious food, probably too much cream cheese and butter, which would have likely triggered the gallbladder situation, but I have not had much trouble with it since being postpartum, although recently I've been mentioning here and there that, oh, like my stomach wasn't feeling great or yada yada, and I guess that was all leading up to it, but I've been pretty miserable a lot really the last, I don't know, a couple of months, I would say. And I think now that that's probably what it was I was just feeling a lot of discomfort because of my gallbladder. And so anyways, long story short, I still have my gallbladder. They did not take it out that night. I woke up the day after Christmas in a lot of pain, and then I just kept thinking like, you can stick this out. It was pretty, I don't know, unbearable at times, but I kept thinking like, you went through natural labor 5 times, you can do this. But finally, at, I don't know, around 10 o'clock in the evening, with still pretty much no relief at all the entire day since like 2 a.m. the night before, I just did not know if I could do this much longer. I was in a lot of pain. Anyway, we went into the ER and it was that. One of the stones is pretty big, and so I guess that's what's causing all the pain. But it's not blocking anything, and so it's not like I had to have surgery immediately. And so now, obviously, I would like to avoid surgery if possible. I've heard of a couple of things that are supposed to really help with that, maybe even dissolve the stones so that you can pass them and things like that. But I want to talk with my doctor first on Monday actually and talk through like what I can actually do while I'm still breastfeeding. So right now I'm just trying to be very disciplined with my diet, which is definitely helping, but not easy living on a dairy farm. Our Jersey cow Maple, she had her calf 2 days I think before Christmas, so she was in milk probably the day that I went to the ER. So I have so been looking forward to having fresh cream again, and now we have it and I can't eat it, but I do want to make a special treat for the kids and Josh, especially with this beautiful snowfall out there. We just have to celebrate. So I think what I'm going to do is we'll do the chili for the main meal, and then they can have some blueberry crisp with fresh whipped cream. I do not have fresh blueberries on hand, but I do have a bunch of frozen, so that should work just fine for that. I'm loosely following a recipe from Spend with Pennies. I'll try to link that down below for you as well, but then of course y'all know how I like to make changes. So I'm going to substitute the sugar with maple syrup. It is about an hour later, and you can see that the dough has puffed up significantly. So we're gonna go ahead and put this into pans now. Week or two, I would say, I have started diving into all things planning for the summer, coming up with plans for my flower gardens and my vegetable garden, and just really starting to get that urge again to get out into the dirt. And while it is too early to start most of the seeds, there's a couple varieties here that I do want to plant today, and I'm so excited to get this started. It always is so just like therapy for me in the middle of the winter to get to at least start seeds a while. So what I have here are actually 3 varieties of eucalyptus. I started eucalyptus indoors a couple years ago, and I think I started in February and wished that I had like in December or January. I don't know if different varieties get started differently or if different people have different techniques. I'm gonna just be following the ones on the back of these seed packets this year. but some would say that you need to refrigerate the seeds for a while. Some need darkness to germinate. There's some different ways of doing it, I guess, but I'm gonna try to keep them warm because these say that they take 7 to 10 days to germinate if you have them at 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or 14 to 21 days if you have them between 65 and 75 degrees. So that is a big difference, and I want these to get big as fast as I can. I have the silver plate eucalyptus, and I'll try to insert some pictures here so you can see what they actually look like then. I have the small leaved gum and then eucalyptus. I cannot say this properly, so I'm gonna just insert a picture of these as well. But that's what I'm starting here today. So I have a big bag here of seed starting soil. We're gonna make that a little bit damp and then fill my trays, and then I'll show you kind of my process. I wish I had a beautiful little greenhouse to start my seeds in. I don't, so I make do with this setup, and it's worked for years now. So that's what we're gonna do again this year.
You are my shelter from the storm. You keep me safe inside your wings. You are my comfort when life gets hard. You lead me to water to drink, and now I trust your gentle hand, even when I can't understand.
Pretty much have to use your imagination to even see the seeds. They are like poppy seed size, but we're gonna get these in. I'm doing 2 seeds per cell right now. I could not find my little plant markers, so I'm just using these little popsicle sticks. Break them so that it doesn't stick out too far.
I know your voice. I'm not afraid. Walking with me at the same pace.
All right, got all of our seeds in, or rather on the soil. I'm gonna cover them very lightly with this vermiculite. We just have to be careful not to get the seeds moved around. If you don't have vermiculite, you can also just cover them very lightly with soil, but again, they do not wanna be covered deep. So I'm gonna sprinkle this on top, and then our little tray is ready to go. And considering that we only have 1 tray, I might not move my racks up here quite yet, and I've shown it on here before, so if you've been around for a while, you're well aware of what I'm talking about. But basically I just have these, I think we got them off Amazon, very simple, inexpensive little rolling shelves. We just tie these long fluorescent lights onto the shelves, and that actually serves as their grow lights. So really easy and inexpensive setup. It is cold out today. I probably should have put on a hat and some gloves, but one thing that I find really helps for like winter blues, which I do tend to get come January and February, is to get out even in the freezing cold air once in a while. I struggle with winter blues way more here than I ever did growing up in Canada, which has much colder, much longer winters, but here it tends to be just really brown and not very pretty, versus Canada was like living in a snow globe. I don't know if that makes the difference or what it is, but it still really just helps to get outside, breathe in some fresh air, go for a little walk, and whenever the kids are getting ready to feed the calves is good incentive to step outside a little bit. So I think they're just down there feeding the little baby calves, so why don't we go and check in on them real quick. I think our spirits are lifted. Let's go back in where it's warm. Cooking mountain pies over a cozy fire that evening was the perfect way to end the day. But I hope that you enjoyed following along today, maybe gained some inspiration. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, friends.
Golden, golden thing.